People in this country have a right to be safe, and yet we've seen Muslim communities targeted, attacks on mosques, other minority communities singled out, wanton violence alongside racist rhetoric. So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is, far-right thuggery. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online. The police will be making arrests, individuals will be held on remand, charges will follow, and convictions will follow.
I agree with him. I don't like far-right thuggery. But if I have a strong opinion because I saw something that I disagree with, or if I make a joke by putting a piece of bacon in front of a mosque, I don't think I deserve to go to prison.
The Muslim community is extremely quiet right now, and I wonder why that is. You know, they say never paint an entire community with a broad brush, so I'm not going to do that because I know all of you good Muslim folk are going to speak out against the rape jihad being committed by the bad actors among you. But I wonder how long it would take you to speak out if a report had been released showing that 250,000 Muslim girls had been raped by British Christian men. I bet your government would be speaking out already too. You know, yesterday I posted a viral video of a speech from the House of Lords in the United Kingdom where Lord Malcolm Pearson reads a report indicating that 250,000 young white British girls had been raped this century alone by predominantly Muslim men. But there's something in the video that I don't think anyone picked up on. There's an audible gasp during the speech that can be heard from those attending in the House. So I want you all to listen again and pay close attention to when that occurs.
But accept that if we extrapolate nationally, the Jay report on Rotherham and other reports on Telford and Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls in this century, very largely by Muslim men. And given these girls are usually several times a day for years.
I'm not asking for a competition, but at least give me 2 gasps, because I don't think I'm asking for too much.
So did you catch that? They weren't shocked or aghast or seemingly too concerned when they heard that scores of innocent young white British girls had been violated, but when the culprits are named, Muslims, that's when the chamber reacts. How dare he call out the Muslims who committed such atrocities? This reaction is a perfect example of why all of these riots in Great Britain have been hidden from the public for decades. The British government would rather that young white girls be violated with no recourse than for their preferred demographic to be offended by their own guilt. I mean, it's truly shocking what has become of what was once the greatest Christian empire in all of the world. So who knew and when did they know it? You know, the Muslim mayor of Britain is responsible for overseeing all of the law enforcement administration in the greater London area. So whether he was aware of the cover-up of this jihad or not, he certainly is responsible for a large portion of these crimes going unnoticed. But, I mean, let's be honest, is it really possible that the mayor of London couldn't have known about any of this?
I don't think that he didn't know, but I've seen a pattern. I've seen a lot of powerful people that say, I have a plan, and because I have a plan, you can't say I failed, because I did have a plan. It just didn't work out perfectly.
I mean, he has been in office since 2016, which would cover a giant swath of these crimes. And if you want to know why he would cover it up, look no further than his Islamic doctrine and a little thing called taqiyya that allows Muslims to lie for each other without committing sin as long as it furthers their faith. And then to add further insult to the British people, we have King Charles, who just bestowed a knighthood upon this mayor, Sadiq Khan, giving him the royal seal of approval.
I don't understand how a specific crime is becoming more and more and you're getting honored. I don't understand that. That's just a little wild to me.
But now, here's where it gets truly diabolical. In Great Britain, serious crimes like murder and require the Crown Prosecution Service's approval in order for the police to charge suspects of these crimes. And guess who was the head of this agency during much of the time that these rapists were allowed to get away with violating and torturing all of these young girls? None other than the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
I wish it was not true. I wish I didn't have to hear his name. But I'm like, bruh, I know you care. But you need to care better, way better. Especially when you made a promise that you're going to fix something and it gets worse. And now you're saying, well, I'm going to watch what you say about these people. I'm like, you're supposed to solve something.
I won't shy away from calling it what it is. Far-right thuggery.
What might shock you even more to know is that while British courts are letting rapists go free without so much as a slap on the wrist, they're actually locking up the fathers of these girls for showing up to the houses of these Muslim grooming gangs to rescue their daughters.
I'd got a phone call to say where Elizabeth was. So I come across, because I lived on next estate, I come across, banged on door, I saw a movement in curtain, then within probably 5 minutes a police car arrived. They asked me what I was doing, I told them, they arrested me.
I mean, the whole thing is absolutely sickening, and it's nothing less than Holocaust reminiscent of, the Nazi Germans who hid their Jewish genocide from the world in much the same fashion.
I don't like to say this quote, but to imagine I have to live in a government that has such actions, it makes you hope, if I ever make a baby, I hope he's a boy. I don't want a girl anymore when a government thinks like that. Because I've been taught, believe all women. Do that, protect. No, miss, no. It's like they're always right. They're princesses. And I want to keep that energy. But the fact that I can get frustrated and I say something wrong.
You will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online.
Now, there is one man, and many of his supporters, who have been sounding the alarm on Muslim grooming gangs for nearly 20 years. I mean, he's risked his safety, his wealth, and his freedom to save Britain's daughters. His name is Tommy Robinson, and for all that time, the media, in conjunction with the government, had many of you convinced that he was just a lying racist Islamophobe. Well, what do you think about him now? Because if you're one of those who believed it, you really owe him a huge apology because, of course you'll have to wait now because he's sitting in a prison cell locked away for the civil crime of contempt for 9 months because he refused to hide the truth from the British people. And on top of that, the prison is forcing anyone in the media or social media to sign a gag order if they come to visit him in prison because they don't want any of us finding out just how poorly they're treating him while he's there.
I mean, that's even more suspicious. You're going to interview this guy. You're going to talk to him. You're going to see what is his condition. You are not to say anything. That's democracy because you're supporting hate crime.
Especially they're saying you get arrested just for retweeting something. And here's the problem with that. Even if you say, yeah, well, people shouldn't tweet hateful things. I agree. They shouldn't. But who's to decide what is a hateful thing?
That's the problem. It's
That's
subjective.
the problem. It's very subjective.
And it still shouldn't be a crime.
And in our lifetime, we've seen that get moved, right?
In Britain, I kid you not, how can this be real? They are releasing convicted pedophiles from prison in order to put people in prison for Facebook posts. There were, and this is I'm simply stating a fact, there were migrant gangs in England that were gangs that would run around and prey on young girls, get them, and some people found that objectionable, which obviously it should be objectionable, and they were upset about that, and so they complained about it online, and were sent to prison. That sounds crazy.
I was looking at legacy media journalists, some of whom are in the room today, complaining about Elon Musk talking about this issue. I have a message for the legacy media. If you'd been doing your job, if you'd been pursuing truth, if you'd been looking at what is happening in this country, we wouldn't need Elon Musk to intervene.
I just think they're using these ideologies or these moral points to say, I care more about everybody than you. So I will decide the laws to stay in power. And to prove things are going right, they're going to create the most unique situation to say, see, you broke a law again. I was right. I need to stay in power.
These victims mentally
My Lords, I really refute the fact that the government is turning a blind eye to those in authority. Sorry, that those in authority are turning a blind eye to this. Noble Lords from across the House have outlined the various child sexual abuse perpetrations in various parts of the country. And my Lords, one thing we can say above all else is what these people target is vulnerability. It's not specific to race, creed or colour, it's vulnerability.
Yeah, just like hate crime can be defined in many ways, vulnerability can be defined in many ways. Because she's talking about vulnerability of minorities. I'm talking about vulnerability of only one side can speak out and the other cannot.
We have some breaking news now, and a woman has been arrested by Cheshire Police in relation to an inaccurate information on social media about the attacker in the Southport murders. It says a 55-year-old woman from near Chester was arrested earlier today, Thursday the 8th of course, on suspicion of publishing written material to stir up racial hatred and false communications. She is currently being held in police custody. Chief Superintendent Alison Ross has also made a statement saying that this is in relation to a post which has been fueled by malicious and the protest rather has been fueled by malicious and inaccurate communications online. It is a stark reminder of the dangers of posting information on social media platforms without checking the accuracy. It's also a warning that we are all accountable for our actions.
You might say, hey, it's a one-time thing. Okay.
In Russia last year, 400 people were arrested for things that they said on social media. 400 people in Russia. Obviously, this country is very different. How many people do you think were arrested in Britain for things they said on social media last year?
Go on.
Take a guess.
I have no idea.
3,300.
Really? Arrested for what they'd said on social media?
Yeah.
What sort of things get you arrested?
Well, one example I give in my show is there was a young woman from Liverpool called Chelsea Russell, and people can look this up. Her friend was killed in a car crash, a 19-year-old woman, and she posted the lyrics of his favorite song on her Instagram. And there was a rap song, so the lyrics contained several instances of the N-word. She was arrested, prosecuted, found guilty, given 500 hours of community service and a fine, tagged, and for a year she was under 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. curfew.
My goodness.
In Britain.
In Britain.
In 2018.
It's everywhere. You can't even put a lyric of an N-word because it sounds like you're saying it because I feel it's a hate crime.
When it comes to tackling the serious issue of child sexual exploitation and abuse, I do think that online giants, social media companies have got a big part to play in helping us to identify and prosecute perpetrators of child sexual exploitation and abuse. So whether it's Elon Musk or anyone else, if those leaders of those giants want to work with this government, we're willing to work with tech giants to make sure that we keep young people safe online and free from exploitation.
You don't think his comments are unhelpful?
This government takes the issue of child sexual exploitation incredibly seriously. We've seen harrowing reports and experiences of abuse of victims who've been brave enough to come forward and speak up about the appalling crimes that they've been subjected to. We've also seen those brave whistleblowers who've been willing to speak up, and frankly we've seen some shocking examples of how political correctness was able to get in the way of going after the perpetrators of these serious crimes. We're not going to let that happen. This government is committed to implementing the recommendations of the inquiry into child sexual abuse. We will do that in full. We will get on with the job, and some of the criticisms that Elon Musk has made I think are misjudged and certainly misinformed, but we're willing to work with Elon Musk, who I think has got a big role to play with his social media platform to help us and other countries.
And the only reason they sound very accountable for their decision is because Elon Musk made sure everybody is looking in their direction with two eyes.
Don't get me wrong, ako sa kitabang puta fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam turlo keta verdeta welcome.